My in-laws don't feel like a family, and it's affecting me deeply.
I'm so sorry.
My female 32 husband, male 35, and I have been together for 10 years and happily married for 5. When we first got together, both our families, aside from my sister, lived in the area and we saw them all regularly. We were able to share holidays between the two families without an issue. My husband is the oldest with a brother and 2 sisters. By the way, this comes from Open Reflection 1088, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit, and I'm Angie.
I'm Carly.
And we're here to give good advice goofily. We don't have all the answers. We're just going to guess what we would do in the situation, but let us know what you would do in the comments. So, OP says, after 1 year of dating, we moved in with each other and bought a fixer-upper home about 30 minutes from his family and 45 from mine, and everyone was happy for us. Even after moving out, we still saw my parents every other weekend for dinner, and they came over weekly to help us with house-related projects for months, like decluttering, unpacking, and creating new spaces for organization. We saw his family once a month at that point, and it was always a great time, but they didn't offer to help with the moving and didn't visit us often because, quote, the drive was too far. If we wanted to see them, we went to their house. Holidays were amazing for the first few years of our relationship. I was always included and celebrated, and I felt loved by them. It wasn't until my parents moved away, though, that things started to shift. 4 years ago, my parents moved a few states away, a 2-hour plane ride, to be closer to my sister on a lake, and asked us to come with them. They offered for us to live in a wing of their house until we found a place and jobs in the area, and they would cover all expenses until that happened. I was excited about the idea, but my husband was vehemently against it because he didn't want to move away from his family. It was a tough conversation, but ultimately I gave in because my parents were still in daily contact with us and we were doing well where we were. My parents were also much more well off financially than his family and able to travel to us more frequently than his family ever could if we moved. I told him that I really wanted to feel like I had a village when we started our family, and I had noticed his family had been drifting apart from us, so I needed to see him making an effort to get them more involved in our lives if we were going to remain local. He readily agreed, and I did see a lot more effort on his end, and even if it wasn't reciprocated. The year we got married, 2020, all of his siblings left home and moved in with their significant others. His sister Mary, female 32, now lived an hour away from us. His sister Hannah, female 28, lived an hour and a half away, and his brother Ben, male 25, lived 2 hours away. His parents were still 30 minutes from us, but they didn't reach out, and we only saw them every 2 months or on holidays. I had been regularly reaching out to his sisters to try and get together for lunch or to meet somewhere in the middle. For a while, they were open to it, but as time went on, their excuses for not being able to get together gradually turned into ghosting my messages, with apologies weeks later for not responding because life is so busy, or they're bad at texting. My husband tried keeping in touch with his parents and started doing weekly lunches with his mom, but that felt off after a while too. Fast forward to March 2023. We rarely spoke with his family at this point other than holiday get-togethers, while my parents remained a constant in our daily life via FaceTime and phone calls. We found out that we were expecting our first baby at the end of March. We wanted to wait until 12 weeks to share the news with everyone, but that plan unexpectedly shifted because in April 2023, mother-in-law informed the family that she was diagnosed with cancer and was being put on chemo in the next few weeks with a double mastectomy scheduled for sometime later in the year. My husband was absolutely devastated at the news. We decided to drive to mother-in-law and father-in-law the night that we heard and informed them of our pregnancy in the hopes of giving her something to look forward to. It was the perfect response. There were tears and hugs and so much happiness. Father-in-law later told me that he was so thankful that we got pregnant when we did because it made her fight harder. Mother-in-law went on disability from her job and both sister-in-laws started taking turns bringing her to her chemo appointments when father-in-law had to work. The chemo was rough on her. We weren't able to visit because she was never up for company, but sister-in-laws kept us informed with weekly updates for a while. After a few months, sister-in-law, Mary, quit her job to be there for her mother full-time. Her husband was making enough money that she actually hasn't gone back to work since. My husband felt terrible that he wasn't able to be of more help, but his work schedule didn't allow for much flexibility, and she was in no shape to travel anywhere. I kept her up to date on the baby's progress, but she didn't reply very often. She told me later on that she enjoyed the updates and apologized for not replying, so I continued to send them. Around July, my mother-in-law and father-in-law shocked the family by telling everyone that they planned to move to Florida by the end of the following year and father-in-law would retire. My husband and his siblings were upset that their parents were choosing to leave when they were all just starting families of their own, but no one voiced their thoughts to the parents because they didn't want to upset mother-in-law. Mother-in-law and father-in-law sold my husband's childhood home within a few weeks and decided to move into Mary's basement apartment, now an hour away from us, until father-in-law was ready to retire. Mary and my mother-in-law grew a lot closer because of all the time they were spending together, and while my husband tried his best to stay in touch, the hour drive was now much more difficult for either side to make much of an effort. Fast forward to Thanksgiving 2023, with my due date only a few days away. No one from my in-law side had checked in on our pregnancy progress for several months. We rarely heard from my husband's siblings other than when we'd ask for updates on his mother, and only saw them a handful of times despite frequent invites on our end. Mother-in-law had her double mastectomy in early November and was recovering well. She was officially in remission. Yay! We did spend Thanksgiving with his side of the family. I was talking to Mary, mother-in-law, and Hannah about how excited I was for them to meet my daughter, and said that they could visit as often as they'd liked, especially since Mary's schedule was so flexible. Mary gave me a weird look and said that an hour drive was a bit of a commitment for frequent visits, so she'd have to talk to her husband about how often she could come. My mother-in-law also made a comment about wanting to give us space for the first few months and not wanting to be a burden. I feel like the first few months is like the time to visit and help out with a baby.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I don't know, but I can understand, like, hey, an hour is long for some people to drive, so maybe I can't make it a consistent thing. Like, I don't think that that's, like, a jab at you guys.
Sure.
But
I agree.
I would think they'd want to see the baby. I don't know.
Yeah, right? I feel like you would only be a burden if you, like, wanted to do fun things in those first few months. But
things that you can't bring a newborn to.
Yeah, but, like, what you would have to do is be there to, like, help out. Especially since OP said that she wanted to have a village. Like, that's the part of the main reason why she's okay with being around this family and like, living here.
I don't think this is your village.
Yeah, I really don't think so. I encouraged them to visit as frequently as they could, saying that I'd rather be surrounded by family than alone at home, since my husband was only taking 2 weeks off from work for the birth. Both mother-in-law and sister-in-laws seemed reluctant and told me, "We'll see." My parents and sister flew in to stay with us the day after Thanksgiving until the baby was born. C-section was scheduled for the first week in December, and they helped us prep the entire house. They deep cleaned, did laundry for us, prepped freezer meals, made Christmas cookies to store, washed and stowed away all new baby items, and helped me finish the perfect nursery. When the baby arrived, everyone, including my in-laws, came to the hospital to meet her. My mom and sister stayed with us for 2 extra weeks to help with the baby before my mom returned home to prepare for Christmas with us. After the hospital initial meet, my in-laws didn't reach out to us. They were giving us, quote, space as a family, even though we never requested that, and told them to please come and visit. I sent my mother-in-law a few updates on the baby, and she replied with emojis, but that was the extent of our contact. I told my husband that I was getting emotional about their lack of excitement and asked if he could take over communication with them going forward. Postpartum was an absolute nightmare for me, and I was struggling to hold on. Initially, when we talked with everyone about plans for Christmas that year, we requested that they all come to us for a joint Christmas because we didn't want to travel. I would be about 3.5 weeks postpartum. But tragically, my mom ended up having a heart attack the night that she flew home from our house, and we nearly lost her. Oh my gosh. What hit me the hardest was the story my dad told of how she kept begging the doctor to help her live so she could be with her granddaughter for her first Christmas. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's terrible. She surprised us all by making a rapid recovery over the next week. Yeah, right. And over the next week and a half, and got the green light to fly back to us for Christmas with my dad. I received a few "so sorry to hear" texts from both sister-in-laws and brother-in-law, but nothing from mother-in-law or father-in-law about my mother's heart attack. On the day before Christmas, when my parents flew in to stay with us, my mother-in-law sent me and my husband a perky text message saying, "I hate to do this, but I'm just not feeling well today. We are going to host Christmas at Mary's house instead. We will be having food at this time and presents at this time. Can't wait to celebrate granddaughter's first Christmas morning." I was 3.5 weeks out from recovering from a C-section with a newborn that wasn't sleeping, and my mother just had a heart attack, and she wanted us to drive an hour to her. My husband called my mother-in-law to tell her that we could do Christmas afternoon with them, but because my family was all in town and my mom was still recovering, we would be doing Christmas morning at our house. That was the wrong response. First, mother-in-law pulled out the waterworks and told him that he was hurting her when she was already in so much pain. She just wanted the whole family to be together. Then father-in-law got on the phone and pulled the "this could be your mom's last Christmas." What?
She's in remission, dude.
Dude, yeah, she's like doing great. Finally, Mary called him and told him that she was sick of him prioritizing my family over theirs and that he didn't know how much their mom had suffered over the past year. The least he could do was spend Christmas with his family. Then she told him that she was 8 weeks pregnant and wanted to be with family. This stress wasn't good for the baby or their mom. I've never seen my husband cry before that moment, but he sobbed. He felt so torn between supporting me and my family while keeping his happy. We spoke with my family about the situation and they encouraged us to go to his family for Christmas to keep the peace. My sister was flying back home Christmas afternoon after being with us for an entire month, so we agreed to wake up early to open presents together before leaving. We ended up leaving our house around 11 a.m. and got to Mary's for 12 p.m., but when we arrived, the welcome was cold. No hellos, no hugs. Sister-in-laws and brother-in-law looked upset, and father-in-law quickly corralled everyone together for a family photo with mother-in-law holding my baby. After the photo, sister-in-laws and brother-in-law said goodbye because they had plans with their respective partners' families, leaving us shocked and alone with mother-in-law and father-in-law. You're joking. After Mary pulled the whole, "oh, you're not prioritizing our family"? That's insane. Insane. Oh my goodness. Mother-in-law looked at me and said, "well, doesn't really feel like Christmas this year, does it?" I tried to be cheerful and kept the conversation about her recovery and the baby. Not once did they ask how my mom was doing. We sat and watched TV with them while she held my baby for the next 3 hours. My hands itched to hold her, but I gave in because she hadn't seen my daughter since the birth. My parents were home alone at our house. After that Christmas, things were never the same with my in-laws. I tried amending things with my in-laws by bringing my daughter to see mother-in-law for a weekly visit for the next 6 weeks, but it was awful. I would drive an hour there, and mother-in-law and Mary would pull her out of the car seat, and I'd watch for 3 hours while they cooed over her, not speaking to me, not letting me hold her when she cried because she, quote, needed to get used to other people soothing her too. Then I would drive an hour home. 5 hours straight of not being able to hold or touch my child. I feel like, how is that possible? Because they would need to feed her too. Maybe I guess if she pumped and would feed with a bottle, but
feeding her then.
That's crazy though. Finally, when I couldn't take it anymore, I started only doing monthly visits. Hannah came to our house once to see the baby over the next 6 months, and Mary came twice, but that was the extent of my in-laws' involvement in her life. I would send some videos and pictures to the family group chat, but when I got no replies or reactions, I gradually stopped. In July 2024, I asked mother-in-law to go on a walk with me and the baby to finally address the tension from the Christmas incident. I explained my point of view, tried to get her to see how hard of a decision it was for me and my husband, stuck between two families with two mothers recovering from traumatic ordeals with a newborn post-C-section. She told me Mary was still holding a grudge at our choice to miss Christmas morning, but she was personally over it. That's so wild, though. Mary,
Why is Mary holding a grudge?
Yeah, she might have missed Christmas morning because you guys all had plans already to not do that, but you changed things up. But then Mary missed Christmas afternoon.
Right.
So, what's up there? I expressed feeling remorseful for upsetting her, and she looked at me straight in the face and said, "Thank you. I've been waiting for that apology. This is my time to be selfish in life, and I can't have people taking my family away from me." That is so insane.
I would be so mad.
So mad. It's okay. I wasn't apologizing for taking your family away from you. That's not what I'm doing.
The apology was for at all.
Yeah,
and where's my apology?
Yeah, I'm still waiting on my apology. Yeah. So, what? And you're admitting that you're being selfish in life. I am not gonna just let that happen. Come on. My parents visited the baby or paid for us to fly to them every 6 weeks like clockwork. We FaceTimed daily, and it meant the world to see my little girl light up every time she saw them on the screen. They know everything that goes on in her life and are such a big part of her personality. Mary had her baby in August 2024, but only let mother-in-law and father-in-law come to the hospital to meet him. She didn't even tell us that he had been born until a few days later. She asked father-in-law to tell my husband and his siblings that they weren't planning on vaccinating the baby, so there would be no guests for this foreseeable future to protect his health. I didn't meet my nephew until he was 3 months old, and even then, we weren't allowed to touch him. The first time we actually held him was when he turned 1 year old. Mary won't touch my daughter anymore because she doesn't want to get her son sick. She greets her cheerfully during holidays, but she doesn't hug her or let her near her or the baby. My mother-in-law and father-in-law did tell us that they don't agree with Mary keeping the baby so isolated, and they were worried about the long-term effects, but nothing really changed. No one will address it with Mary. That December, 2024, my mother-in-law and father-in-law moved to Florida. They tried keeping a weekly FaceTime date with us, but it fell through after 3 weeks. We would call, they wouldn't answer. We'd get a text a few days later with an apology for missing our call. My parents are begging us to move closer to them. My sister wants to live down the street from us and raise our kids together. She wants to do weekly dinners with us and pool parties and sleepovers and be my daughter's best friend. My dad wants to coach all the sports teams that my kids play on. My family wants to attend every game that they play in. My husband and I have been getting into big emotional arguments about moving. I told him that it was easy for me to accept it the first time. He said no because I was doing it to make him happy. But now there's a new priority in my life, especially because we're expecting our second child this spring. Oh, wow. I don't want them to grow up this way. I want them surrounded by so much love and affection and laughter and family. Not holiday family that don't give a dang about coming to see them or asking how they're doing. They're nice and kind when we get together in person, but that lingering tension is always there. And you know what else is always there? Oh, million more episodes of stories just like this one on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. Just search OK Storytime and you're gonna find it.
A whole billion million.
A whole billion million, guys. I don't know about you, but that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of episodes. But there is a little bit more to the story, but
I want you to move near your family.
Yes. Because it's not even like they just have the problem of like, oh, we just don't have like any family. Like we just need both of our families to do this and like be more active and involved. But like they have that family. They have that ready to go. It's just further away.
And they're still seeing the further family more often.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this is just harder to do. I wonder if his worry is that like if they do move then they're just never gonna see the family again.
Probably.
Because if they won't even drive an hour, like they're definitely not gonna fly.
I do wonder though if it would make it slightly better though, because when they did come out to see his family, because they would have to be the ones to fly there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That things would be more planned and there would be more like forced time together kind of thing.
Maybe. Hopefully.
I don't know. Mother-in-law won't be happy about it.
Yeah, because OP did mention that like when they moved, that's when things changed and like started getting more distant. So it's like, what?
Yeah,
huh?
I'm sure.
How does that work? He knows that if we move, his family will hold it against us. There will be a grudge. They won't travel to see us. They won't make an effort to keep in touch because they're barely doing it now. If we move, we essentially lose them. I don't want that, and neither does he, but at this point, is it worth it? Would I be the a-hole for forcing him to move? He loves the area. He grew up here, and so did I. He has so many memories here that he wants to share with the kids as they grow up, but can't we make new memories? I told him he was being selfish by keeping us here, but was that too harsh? Please give me some advice. Am I the a-hole? And that's the end of that story, but...
Well...
Yeah, I guess we were right on guessing his point of view, which is such a valid point of view.
Totally valid still.
Yeah.
I wonder too how much more of this before he starts to be fed up with it even.
Yeah, right? Because he has sobbed at all of this like distance.
They're not like being nice to him and mean to OP.
Yeah.
Like it's both of you guys are just getting pooped on.
Yeah, dude. Like I wonder if like he can be the main person to communicate with his parents and family, because like obviously her communicating is just coming off as like, oh, you're stealing our family away. It's like we need to be so straightforward with them and be like, yo guys, this is all the effort. Look at all of this effort that we have put in to be with you guys and done for you, and this is a much smaller list of what you have done for us.
Yeah,
we simply can't keep doing that. Like the whole point we moved here is to have like a village for our family, and we have not gotten that at all.
We stayed here for you guys, and you guys suck.
Yeah, so it's like it's our turn to be selfish in life. Like there's
I'm gonna be selfish for my 2 babies.
Yeah, it's like what gives you the right to be selfish and not me? Like we have to make our best decision for our child. So if the husband can like come to them and say like, this is what I want, then
Lay
maybe
it down.
they can,
Yeah.
maybe they can understand. But
Who knows?
who knows? But I don't know. I don't think you're being the a-hole. Depending on how you said that might have been harsh about him being
Yeah.
selfish, but also maybe it's what he needed to hear.
Yeah, might be a good wake up for him.
Yeah. It's been very hard for you. I mean, he only had 2 weeks off from work for the baby.
Yeah.
So she's been at home taking care of this child by herself. But yeah, definitely not the a-hole here, girl.
My sister-in-law cheated on my brother, and it ruined how I see her.
Cheaters always gonna cheat.
Am I the a-hole for not talking to my sister-in-law after cheating on my brother? Title says it all. My sister-in-law emotionally cheated on my brother. They went through a rough patch, but eventually got back together. By the way, this comes from Big Friendship 8007. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Carly.
I'm Angie.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do. Let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, since I found out a brother lived with me during their break, I've completely distanced myself from her. I was and still am disappointed. Even after she and my brother made up, she tried reaching out a few times, but I ignored her every time. For my brother's sake, she'll be at my daughter's birthday, but outside of that, I'm choosing not to have any contact with her. This has been hard for me because we used to be very close. I never had a sister growing up, and she was the closest thing I had. What hurt the most is realizing she doesn't take accountability for her actions. Instead, she blames others, acts selfishly, and even cried to me, expecting that I'd defend her terrible choice for cheating. Am I the a-hole? Frowny face. Comments. Bumblebee True 3817. It sounds like you're grieving the relationship you thought you had with her, which makes this harder. But if she's not owning up to what she did, keeping your distance is reasonable. Apprehensive War 9612 says OP is not just grieving the relationship she thought she had. She's grieving the loss of the person she thought her sister-in-law was. When someone is unfaithful, it changes the way you view them. Add in the fact that she doesn't take accountability and blames others for her actions and plays the victim. OP is realizing that her personality is not the type of person she wants to have a relationship with. It doesn't matter if her brother forgives her. Her view on the sister-in-law's morals and values has changed. If you don't see eye to eye with someone's morals and values, it is nearly impossible to have a friendship, let alone a close relationship with them. OP responds, you have no idea how much I've cried. More frowny faces. I held it together at work, only to break down in tears on my way home. Even though 2 weeks has passed, I am still so disappointed, hurt, and sad. He may have forgiven her, but I just can't. I've tried, but I can't make sense of it. White Ghost 99 says, he probably forgave her in bed. She doesn't have the same opportunity with you, so she can't fix it. With you, the harsh truth can't be smothered under a heavy blanket of, there was nothing, babe. I only love you. Opie says, I know, sucks. I'll just isolate myself from her entirely. Once my daughter's birthday is over, I'll completely stop. Fangs McWolf says, how is she not taking responsibility for her actions? I'm not asking in her defense, but rather to better understand the situation. Opie says instead of apologizing, she turned it back on him, blaming him for being self-employed rather than having a full-time job, saying she never wanted to get married young and just wanted to enjoy, if you know, you know, and even admitting she isn't emotionally attached to him and it's his fault. She also blamed her acts on grieving over her passed away sister, saying it's been affecting her and that she needed someone to talk to. Honestly, it's so messed up because who in their right mind thinks sending naughty pics and spicy texting is part of grief? Fangs McWolf responds again. I believe you mean grieving. Griefing means to cause grief, whereas you're talking about mourning her sister. Yeah, not the a-hole. If she wants to be a victim, then give her a reason to feel like a victim. When she complains about it, just tell her that you'll reconsider after she starts taking responsibility for her own behavior. Career OK 7413. It's okay to be upset and grieve, but I fear this will inevitably hurt your brother and you over time. If he can forgive your sister-in-law, can you forgive and be cordial? OP responds, honestly, even if I were to forgive her, I know our friendship has changed. I'll never see her the same way again. I did also realize that this might affect my relationship with my brother, But at the end of the day, I have to choose myself and my peace first. Selfish, but what she did was also selfish, lol. Career OK responds, as long as you know that you will probably lose your brother and believe it's worth it, then you're good. It's a terrible thing, and I'm sorry for your loss of a sister. I actually had a similar thing where a close friend cheated and also blamed everyone but herself for her actions after it ended. It was so gross to me that I ended the friendship a few years later after trying to keep it going. Got a lot of crap for it, but I don't regret it. It did irreversibly change how I saw her, and I never forgot it. It wasn't even about the cheating at that point, but her lack of accountability. It's very disappointing when someone you love is actually someone else that you never knew. Opie says, I know. I am very sorry to hear that too. It sucks that some people are so evil and selfish. And we have a judgment of not the a-hole, obviously.
Yep.
And an update 1 month later.
Wow. Yeah, some of those comments were a little bit mixed, I feel like if you I am curious to see what the brother thinks, but I don't think that you doing this means that you lose your brother. Like, I feel like if it ever gets to that point, I feel like your brother would, or you would change your pace, you know? Like, I feel like if you were so against her to the point where he didn't want to hang out with you anymore,
right.
then I feel like you would switch things up at that point, but we're not there yet, you know?
I would agree.
It's hard to say that.
Update 1 month later. The birthday itself was very awkward, but I kept things civil for the sake of my brother and the guests. I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. Everything went fine. After the party, she tried reaching out to me through social media, but I didn't respond. About a week later, I saw my brother again for the first time in a while at a mutual friend's house. His wife came to pick him up since his car was at the mechanic, and I said goodbye to him and ignored her completely. It wasn't out of rudeness, it was simply my decision and a boundary I chose to keep. My husband and best friend told me to cut ties, as this has also deeply affected me. A day or so after, my brother called me to tell me she cried the entire way home because I didn't acknowledge her and that she believed our friendship was ruined forever. That honestly caught me off guard. It felt selfish because she didn't show any sympathy when my brother was breaking things off with her. Yet the moment I stopped acknowledging her, she became an emotional wreck. I feel as if she was more upset about losing me than what she did to him. Probably because he forgave her.
Yeah.
Then things escalated. She gave my brother an ultimatum. Cut your sister off to show you respect me.
What? That is coming out of nowhere. Oh my gosh.
A moment of truth. Okay. That caused a huge argument between them to the point where her father got involved. Her father took my brother's side.
Yeah.
He told her that she needed to ask for my forgiveness and that just because my brother forgave her doesn't mean everyone else has to.
Yeah.
Then she planned to come over the same day to apologize and beg for forgiveness without informing us. Just knock on the door and welcome herself in. My brother called to warn me, and I told him very clearly that I didn't want her near my home, and she should have thought about her consequences before she cheated. She kept insisting, but I told him I'm not going to open the door. Eventually, he convinced her to stay away. I spoke to my best friend about this, and she advised me to remove her from my social media since she kept trying to contact me, and it was affecting me. So I did. That apparently led to another breakdown. She cried for almost 24 hours, which caused yet another argument between her and my brother. I tried calling him to check in, but he didn't answer. Later, he told me she accused him of not respecting her because he was still speaking to me. Ridiculous if you ask me, because if she truly respected him, she wouldn't have cheated.
Yeah. Her argument makes absolutely no sense here.
Oh my god, not at all.
Like, if she is literally begging OP to, like, not leave her and still be friends with her, but then somehow thinks that him talking to his own sister is disrespecting her, like, what do you want? Do you want to be in contact with me or not?
What is going on here?
Make up your mind.
She throws tantrums whenever he tells her to cut off the bad influenced guy friends due to trust issues, yet expects him to cut me off because I set my boundaries with her. And by the way, we'll never cut you guys off because you guys can always listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, search up OK Storytime. Got a little bit left.
She is like really having such a hard time with handling her own mistake, and she's trying to like have everyone else fix it somehow. Like have OP forgive her, have the brother cut off OP,
right?
And then now her dad's involved, like.
And is siding with the brother, and she's still like, how dare you?
Yeah.
You're talking to your sister.
Right. And then she's not going to do anything like cut off contact with the guy friends that she's around. Like, I understand that that's not always like the best idea, and that can go into like dangerous controlling territory. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like,
it's not all of the guys that she's talking to, though. It's just the ones that he's like, you seem like you're getting too involved.
Yeah, like there's signs of possible cheating with these guys. And so that's the one thing that she can do to try to fix this thing.
My God.
And she's not doing it. She wants everyone else to fix it for her. Ridiculous.
Over time, his calls became less frequent. When he does call, it's usually when he's at work, in his car, or somewhere away from home. He can't talk freely because she apparently uses Google Translate when we speak in our mother's tongue, and starts arguments afterwards based on one word she picked up.
Oh my God.
Eventually, he stopped calling altogether to avoid the chaos.
No.
I don't fully understand why he's still with her, but I'm trying to stay supportive. His mental health has taken a serious hit, as he's emotionally drained, and at this point, my main concern is his well-being. Whatever happens in their relationship, I'll be here for him. He is my brother, and I just want him to be okay.